Why would you ever make that character the mainstay of the story, right? Like Tyr, Thor, or something like that. Yeah, exactly. So like, I really think that if you did a vote for this, like the players would never vote for this decision. You know that they keep replacing characters that are white and male with characters that are non-white and non-male. And the reason why is they want to push a social agenda. You see a lot of gay and trans stuff in video games. Nobody's asking for that, but they still keep getting it. Why is that? Do you think that any person actually wants to play like a character that looks this way? I don't. I think guys have no problem playing female characters, but she's got to be really hot. We will make the discourse so unpleasant, so uncomfortable, so problematic, and so toxic that there will be an environment where people are afraid to do this.
So we're back at this dumb and annoying conversation again. So recently we had the State of Play, which I believe was yesterday, and they announced a lot of really cool and interesting games. They introduced and saw some content for Wolverine. We're getting some Jean Grey. We got some information about a lot of other cool games like that Fear Me game. I'm pronouncing it wrong, but I think it's really cool. But one of the biggest things that's making a lot of headway right now is the fact that we got a new addition, an introduction to the God of War franchise again, and it's God of War Laufey, a game that's following Laufey the Just, the wife of Kratos, in a spin-off game where she's in the afterlife and she fights off a bunch of different gods. And apparently, given that I thought to myself, like, maybe this would be a really cool game. I'm like, yeah, this is a really cool idea. I think this game looks really fun. And the 20-minute gameplay actually kind of sold me a little bit. I want to see a little bit more, and I hope they adjust some things. But I was very interested in the idea. But apparently, I'm on the wrong side of the internet right now, because everyone that I've seen so far as of recently has been clowning this game for reasons that I don't fully understand. One of the main things that I'm seeing a lot of people talk about that, and I actually to a degree can understand his viewpoint, so I'm getting the less problematic view out of the way, that people are not interested in the game because it's not Kratos. It's a God of War game that has a God of War title, but you're not using Kratos as the main character. But then I counteract with this point right here. So you might be fine with the idea of a God of War game following Atreus, but you know good and well that it's not going to be called Loki, his giant name. It's most likely going to be called God of War Loki, because that makes a lot more sense. Because hey, God of War, he's the son of God of War, and his name is Loki. Guess what? God of War Loki. God of War is no longer just entirely synonymous with Kratos anymore. It's not like how it was originally with all the other games, with the 3, 4, I think 5 games that happened when they had the original creator. We are now in a point where God of War is basically an entire mythology. Like, it has its own entire universe to it that it's attached to. And you mean to tell me that you're upset with the idea that it has the God of War title? Because you know good and well that, like, if you're going to follow a game called, I don't know, God of War Thor or God of War Thrud or something, and you might be saying like, oh, they could easily just title it the God of Thunder. And I'm like, yeah, but you're going to think it's a new IP. You're going to think it's a new franchise. But then, by all means, I don't know. Like, it's the same thing with the Infamous games. We have Infamous 1, Infamous 2, then we have Infamous Second Son, which is the second son 6 years after the second game. So yeah, the second son, the second generation of conduits. And then we have Infamous First Light, which doesn't have Cole either, but First Light has the spin-off game or the DLC game that happens in the same universe as Infamous Second Son. Like, you guys do realize you guys are not making sense when you're saying like, oh, you don't like the fact that it has a God of War title attached to it. But either way, as much as I may not think that makes sense, I understand your viewpoint. In fact, I believe you have the most valid viewpoint out of everyone right now that's been complaining about the game. I think you have the most valid viewpoint, because I can understand that you grew up with Kratos, you mainly want to see Kratos, so it might be a little bit jarring. Even if you played the other games, you might be like, no, like, I mainly want to play Kratos, so seeing someone else playing a different character with the same IP but that's not Kratos is a little bit. But now we're talking about the very thing that a lot of people have been talking about, and it's two things. One, that the game is woke, and two, the fact that it's not an attractive woman. Those are the two main things. I know there's some people talking about the fact that like, oh, I don't care about playing a female lead, but then that's not true. Like, I understand good and well that's not true. That's just like rage bait comments, so people who are saying that are just saying that to get some extra clicks and views and stuff like that. We all know good and well that people do not mind playing female lead characters. We know this. We know this for a fact. Control wouldn't be getting a sequel if we didn't like some female-led characters. We wouldn't be having Lara Croft keep coming up. We wouldn't have a bunch of different female-led games, even with like GTA 6. Like, we all know good and well that female-led characters is not the problem. But we're back to a caveat of that conversation where people are bringing up the attractiveness of Faye. And I'm sitting here going like, you do realize that Faye looks pretty much the same since the original games. Like, I'm pretty sure there might be some changes. Like, it doesn't look exactly the same, but it looks relatively the same for the same character from the previous games when she was introduced for those small moments. Especially in Ragnarok, we got like a full scene with, you know, Kratos walking alongside his wife when he was like reminiscing, or I believe he was going through some spatial things. I forgot in the moment in the game where it happens. And what, they're gonna tell me right now that like Freya is not attractive? Because I think Freya is attractive. So you guys want to point out that Faye is unattractive? Why were you guys not saying that before when the games came out? And some of you might be saying that, but then y'all didn't care about that because the games were fire. But I know what you're gonna say. It's the fact that like, oh, it's because she's a side character, so she wasn't on the screen 90% of the time, so you didn't really care if she was attractive or not. So since she was a side character, it was a nothing burger of a situation. But then I also bring up the same point. I'm like, you guys are bringing up this conversation like you haven't played games that had some average looking women or decent looking women as video game characters. Like, not every character has to replicate the attractiveness of Stellar Blade or whatever games. And I understand Stellar Blade is a caveat of that decision. And I know people keep bringing up this point with the God of War writer, who actually is known or said that she actually agreed the fact that, you know, Mary Jane's remodeling in the Spider-Man 2 game was a positive thing. I disagree with that. Trust me, I do. I completely disagree with that. I thought the remodeling of Mary Jane in the second game was absolutely atrocious. I believe that. But she also can have that opinion. Just because you guys are pointing that out doesn't mean that she can't write a decent story for this new game. Like, that's just an opinion that she has that we don't agree with. That's just how it is. But just because she has that viewpoint doesn't mean that she's going to make this a woke, trashy game. Like, and even then, what's woke about the game? What, is it because it's a female lead? Is it because we're following the wife of Kratos? She's literally one of the more pivotal characters in the entirety of the God of War franchise. She's one of the main reasons why that the story that Kratos has in the first and second game even happens in the first place. He goes to Jotunheim because he wants to spread his wife's ashes. He fights Baldur because Baldur thought Faye was at the house and only came because Kratos cut down a tree and destroyed the protective barrier that was around their cabin to keep the Norse gods from finding them. And once it broke down, Odin sent Baldur. And then that's why we have that epic fight with Kratos and Baldur. And then we have the whole moments and learning all the different things that's going on in the verse, especially when you run into Freya, when you run into Brock, when you run into Sindri, when you run into all these different characters. There's so much stuff, there's so much influence that she had in the verse in the first game and the second game. And yes, you get the story of Kratos at the same time. So she was a driving force for why the story happens, while we see what Kratos is learning as he goes along and how he has to deal with it, and also all the other subplots of stories that's between Kratos and Atreus. It's an all good culmination of different stories. She was kind of like the backstory that helped push it forward, and then Ragnarok was kind of like a little bit more on the forefront because you saw actual physical changes to the landscape that she actually had to do, like fighting Thor and having like the lightning strike that was frozen that happened in the beginning of the game, showing that both of them are meant for each other. And one of the things that I was intrigued by the idea about this game is because this is the woman that bagged the God of War. Like, she bagged him. He literally glazed her in the first and second game as many times as he could, talking about how she was a beautiful fighter. Or maybe not as much times as he could, but he glazed her a few times in the game, talking about how she was a beautiful fighter, a great lover, blah, 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 all these different things. And you guys are mad at the fact that they're wanting to show the very wife that has this, you know, mythos to her about all the things that she's done in the Norse realm and what she's done for Kratos and what she's done for Atreus before she died, and maybe what she's done for them while she was dead. And then we're getting like a full game, like a 20+ hour game. They already announced this, and we know good and well that there might be so much more story, and then we might get some cool things. Like, we might run into some of the Greek gods that died. This is the afterlife, so anything can possibly happen. She could probably run into the Norse gods that Kratos already killed. Like, we don't know what we're expecting, and you guys are jumping down the throats of the studio. And I hate the fact that the studio had to come out and say, like, guys, trust me, like, it's going to be a good game. I hope you guys give it a shot. But you guys, and I'm sitting here going to, like, you shouldn't have replied, because at that point you're just trying to say like, oh guys, please, like, it's not that bad, like, we promise, like, it's going to be a good game, it's a good idea. Like, they should have just kept it quiet, because at this point now you're giving everyone this viewpoint and everyone this leeway to say like, oh, listen bro, all we just saying is gamers want this, we want Kratos, get this Laufey stuff out of the way. Guess what? And now this game is probably going to suffer because of this backlash, or what most likely will happen, this backlash is going to disappear after a few days, because this is probably like the peak of it right now. And eventually when the game releases, people who have probably been clowning on it might buy it anyways, play it, and God forbid, I hope to God that it actually is a good game. If it ends up being a good game, guess what? They're not gonna say it. They might tweet about it saying like, oh, it's a good game now, I was wrong. Or they might never say that they were wrong. That's just how the internet functions. But if the main thing that you're talking about for why you're not playing this game is because, oh, she's not super attractive, and you calling it woke for reasons that you can't even point out why it's woke. You're just saying like, oh, it's replacing Kratos, when they literally didn't even say they're going to replace Kratos. They said they're going to still do Kratos games, but they wanted to play around with the idea of telling stories of other characters. Like if they do a Tyr game or a Thor game, you know good and well that no one's going to complain because it's Thor and Tyr, despite that there's some people who didn't like Tyr's character in the God of War Ragnarok game, because he was this arbitrary, he was a guy who's called the God of War for the Norse gods, but he didn't want to fight in the beginning portion, and he was nothing more than just a puppet for Odin's, deception. And when the real one was found, he didn't even want to fight after that anyways, because the story was long gone and long over. And it's only in the actual DLC you get to see how powerful and strong and how resourceful Tyr actually is. So yeah, you can get a story with him, but the same conversation will most likely happen, saying like, oh, it's not Kratos, so I don't care. But then what most likely will happen is like, oh, it's a male character, so they might give it a little bit more leeway. And I'm not trying to say that people have this viewpoint. I don't know. Like, I'm not in your brain. Like, you tell me why you believe this stuff. Like, you tell me how you feel. Okay, because I know I'm excited for the game, because I know the game backwards and forwards. I like the lore of the game, and her influence on the game is so palpable in the back end of everything. Like, she has a literal imprint on almost every single thing that happened in the game, that I'm like sitting here going like, yeah, I actually wanted to see more what she has to offer. I want to see what this character has to display. The only thing I know that I didn't really like from the game's trailer, from the state of play, was that I didn't care for the cube or the ribbons. I didn't care for that. Maybe the ribbons I was willing to let pass, but the cube I didn't really care for. I like Jack Quaid. It's like, I like Jack Quaid. I really do. Jack Quaid is cool, but the cube kind of took me out of the whole situation. And on top of that, like, people are comparing it to Forspoken, like the dialogue for Forspoken. Forspoken is probably the worst dialogue you've ever seen in almost any game. Like, you've seen it in the trailers beforehand. That is not comparable to Forspoken. You guys are just comparing it to Forspoken because you want to compare it to make it saying like, oh, it's a female-led character with bad dialogue. Guess what? This game is going to suck just like Forspoken. That is not an equative actual reality of the game. That's not going to happen. Like, I don't understand why you guys would make that the description for the game, even if the game hasn't even been released yet. People were actually like somewhat excited for Forspoken when it first was released, or was first announced. It's only when it got released and we saw all the full dialogue that we got throughout the game that people realized, oh, the game's dialogue is terrible. I hate it. Oh, but no, we're dealing with a God of War game that has some pretty sick combat, some pretty sick cinematics, some pretty sick designs for gods and monsters, and yet somehow the only thing you guys can focus on is the fact that it is the wife of Kratos, and now everyone is clowning it. Look, listen, honestly, if you're someone who only cares about playing Kratos, more power to you. I have nothing to say to you. But honestly, if you're just hating on the game because it's a female-led character, or if the fact that she's not attractive enough, or you feel like the game is going to flop because you think it's woke, or whatever the case may be, then don't play it. That's all I'm just going to say. Don't play it. Don't play it. Yeah, you're going to say your videos, talk about it, complain about it. It is what it is. Do what you got to do. But at this point, like, if the game releases and you play the game and you end up liking the game, okay, what then? So if they do it again, I shouldn't see you complain. Like, if they did a game following through, Thor's daughter, because Thor is dead, then no one should be complaining because Thrud has Thor's hammer. That's what happened at the end of Ragnarok. And on top of that, even if they were doing a Thor game, he's dead. You're more likely to see Thor in this game because it's the afterlife, because Thor is dead. I don't know, bro. This conversation keeps coming up every single time. And then, like, I understand that there's already some hypocrisy occurring because we have the Control sequel happening, and the main character for the Control game in the very beginning, the first one, was a female lead, and now it's a male lead, and obviously no one's complaining about that whatsoever. But as soon as Laufey has been announced, now everyone is jumping down everyone's throats, everyone's mad at it, and then the only point of people might say, like, oh, nobody cares about Control. I'm like, that's not true. There's a lot of people who are fans of Control. There's a lot of people who are played the original game, and when they announced the trailer for the second game, a lot of people are fans of it. I've seen it. But if you don't care about it, it is what it is. But like, you're not going to play it. But since most likely you want to have an excuse to just play Kratos, which is fine, they're just giving you a spin-off. They're just giving you one spin-off. All these game franchises and game universes do spin-offs all the time. So you guys can't be okay with like one game that doesn't have Kratos as the main character. Like, Kratos has about almost 7 or 8 games with him being the main thing, and we're gonna get the remake of the original games at some point. So either way, you're getting games with Kratos in the future. Like, you already know this is happening. So you guys are gonna get mad at the fact that we're getting a spin-off game and the main games at some point, and you're still upset. Okay, so this is just a nothing burger. So this is a nothing burger conversation. Like, you guys being mad about it is completely unwarranted and unnecessary. So I'm just going to say this right now. Leave a comment below why you're not playing Laufey. If you're going to be playing it, let me know what you're excited for and what you expect to see. If you're interested in what's going to happen, do you want to see more games like that? Because I know I do. And I know, in fact, that when the game releases, I'm going to play it on my gaming channel. Link below if you're interested, mind you. And I'm going to give my unfiltered and authentic opinion about the game, because I know that it's very much possible that the game can still suck. I can be excited for it and it can still suck when it releases. So guess what? I'm going to be hopefully optimistic. All right. Other than that, that's all I got to say. I'm like just sick and tired of just seeing these kind of conversations pop up all the time. It just really is frustrating. Leave a like a video if you like videos like this. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more videos like this also. It's your boy Kadu-kun. I'll see you guys next time. And peace.
FMA, handle business, don't play. On point when it comes to the anime. Jack and Daxter, ayy, let's go. The ultimate heroes, don't stop, we on the road. Kadu-kun. Kadu-kun.
Yeah, welcome to the channel.